right, good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, the 20th of January, and this is a quarterly meeting of the water agreement between the city of Hudson and a review. It's not a committee. It's a review of how the agreement is working or not working, or shortcomings or whatever, and we are ready to commence. Our administrator is out ill today, or cannot attend, so it's just Patrick and I, and I'm going to let Patrick take over the agenda since you guys didn't have any ads. So good to go, Patrick.
Hi. So I guess I apologize, I didn't print off enough agendas. Wasn't sure who was going to be here. So the first thing on our agenda was what can be expected for up-to-date maintenance reporting and documentation. And then I also, you all have the sheet. The village would like to know what would be included in the documentation of its water system, specifically what would we would like up-to-date spreadsheets of hydrant and valve maintenance, also timely reporting of any issues with our system. Reasoning for this information is to keep an open line of communication between both municipalities, and if the water service agreement should happen to change or be terminated, the village would have all necessary documentation to continue operations. I don't know who that's directed toward or whatever, or if you guys want to discuss or how you want to go about it.
Kip, did you want to talk to any of the documentation that they're looking for?
Well, I guess,
Can you maybe go to the podium so that the people on
I guess
cable?
first I'd like to just, what's the attempt here at these quarterly meetings? That's what I want to know. In our agreement, under quarterly meetings, in an effort to avoid disputes during the first term of this agreement, the village and city shall hold quarterly meetings in the months of January, April, July, and August to discuss implementation of this water agreement. I read what the village is asking for. We do our PSC reporting, our DNR reporting, all that kind of stuff. I guess I don't know if it's this committees, or I don't even, what are we calling this? I don't
It's just
even know.
if it's a review,
I
go
guess
for the agreement.
if there's additional information that's needed or wanted, like quarterly reports, things of that nature, I believe that should go back through PUC to implement that, if the PUC wants that implemented. I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, I don't, the city of Hudson is now doing all maintenance, repairs, everything that's in this agreement on the village water system. The village still owns the water system. The village has a representative on the PUC commission, that could request all this information. I guess I'm just trying to figure out, do I need to be doing quarterly reports back to you guys? We do the state of Wisconsin requires us to do our reporting. So I'm not understanding why that isn't good enough and why we have to go above it. I mean, if I'm told to do this, if this committee wants all this information that's in that, that you guys had your 7 questions, I don't have an issue doing it, as long as the PUC is fine with us doing that.
And just to ask a quick question for clarity, are you guys asking for an additional report above and beyond the quarterly? Is that what you guys are looking for?
No, this is a quarterly meeting.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I just meant like the documentation you're asking for, like we already have those quarterly, so I'm just curious, are you guys looking for anything, in advance of quarterly reporting?
Well,
No.
we don't even report, we don't even report back to the PUC or the city of Hudson, anybody, on a quarterly basis.
Right.
It's on a yearly basis is when we do our reports. For example, you guys had in there, hydrant flushings, schedules and different things like that. when we start hydrant flushing in the spring, we're definitely gonna give, probably Patrick a call, Melissa a call, something like that, and say, hey, we're gonna be up there, we're gonna be starting to do this, because you're gonna want your residents to know if there's calls, things of that nature. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing at this quarterly meeting. I went through and read this agreement, and there's nothing really in the agreement other than we're supposed to be meeting quarterly if we have issues with the agreement. That's how I read this.
No,
I don't read it as we're gonna meet quarterly so I can give the village an update on how many hydrants we flushed or valves we turned. I guess that's where I'm confused, and I'm looking for clarification on that.
The agreement was worked on a while ago, and I don't recall who requested a quarterly meeting. Was it you guys? Was it
I think it was,
Yeah, it was the
it's
village.
included in the agreement. I
Okay,
mean,
so, and is this an official meeting right now? Is this a, of course, well, it can't really be official because
We never
it's been-
posted
Yeah,
that
it's
I'm
not
aware of.
posted, but it's being recorded right now,
No,
right?
it's being recorded, but
Okay, and the reason I'm asking that is because maybe we could discuss that today instead of having it discussed in the future. I was wondering if we had to have an agenda item to just kind of, that sounds legitimate. There were no parameters as to what the meeting was supposed to be about, and we should get that settled on.
well, and as the agreement and Kip stated, it's to review, to make sure that if there is any shortfalls that we can, rather than a year down the road or 2 years down the road, saying, well, this hasn't been done, and, a lot of this stuff being addressed is that, the reason that the agreement was, you guys voided the first one is because you said we weren't doing this stuff. Now, word of mouth, we were doing it, we were documenting it, Patrick has the documentation. What we want to have is to make sure that we have the actual documentation so that if, this agreement blows up or whatever, and that we've got it to say, hey, wait, we can show the PUC or whatever what's going on. And the agreement is between us and Hudson and the PUC. They didn't, I haven't heard any issues from them, but.
No, is this,
So the,
does the PUC, do we inform the PUC about this meeting?
I don't know, I informed Andy.
Just shared it with me and.
so here,
Hannah.
it might be helpful. Do you want me to read, the section from the agreement that quarterly meetings? I can read that paragraph.
Sure.
That's what I just did.
I'll read it word for word.
Okay, read it again.
And just for the people on TV, maybe
Right.
identify who. as
I
we're
think that
talking,
provides at least a framework for us to, kind of continue
All
the
right, so
conversation.
Stan's asking you to identify yourself.
Mike Johnson, I am the Community Development Director /
that's-
Community or City Administrator.
Yeah,
Assistant
no,
City
we met,
Administrator.
I just, for people on TV that might not
Right.
get to see your smiling face all the time,
Right.
I just
Right.
trying to help out.
So it's section 13.2, quarterly meetings. In an effort to avoid disputes during the first term of this water agreement, the village and the city shall hold quarterly meetings in the months of January, April, July, and September to discuss implementation of this water agreement. So I see it as to discuss the implementation of it. The city administrator will initiate the quarterly meetings by sending written correspondence to the village administrator during the last week of the months of December, March, June, and August. The city and the village shall coordinate and mutually agree upon the agenda for each quarterly meeting. At a minimum, an invitation for each quarterly meeting shall be extended to the city public utilities director, village public works director, administrators, and mayor or president of the city and village respectively. So
Okay.
I see it more as an implementation piece. What are we seeing that works? What are we seeing
Yeah.
that doesn't?
See, and that's exactly how I seen, and that's what I think the meaning was behind this, that if we're seeing something in here that, like, we're like, this just isn't working. It looks great on paper, it's just not working out in the field, or between Patrick and I, or whatever it might be. That's what I'm seeing as the purpose of this meeting, because we're only meeting for the first term. So this isn't an ongoing meeting for, the rest of our careers. That's how I'm seeing this, that, if we have an issue that was something inside this agreement, this is where it gets talked about. That's how I read that statement. And I'm just looking for, I mean, we have some information, what we've done so far. We've only been here for 3 months. So it's not like 3-4 months. It's not like we've done a whole lot,
Why don't we start with that?
especially with the winter.
That's, I mean, sure. Like it's not, it's just our meeting. It's between Hudson and, so that's,
Once, and again, once we're into this, once we're more in it, we started in September, October, I think is when, we kind of started taking over and things like that. That's our wind down season. We're not flushing hydrants. We did some, to date, up in the village, we completed a physical inventory of all the hydrants in town. An updated spreadsheet's been created with all the hydrants on that. All the dead end mains have been flushed, and 2 hydrants that were barely even operational were repaired. So we've been up here kind of getting caught up for the end of the year. Now it's just springtime. We wait till spring, and then we'll be back up, doing valves, hydrants, all that kind of stuff that we normally do, type thing. But I guess I'm looking for direction on this meeting too. I don't know I didn't know what I was supposed to prepare for today.
well, that's why we sent you these
Right.
questions and that's, I mean, I looked at the questions, it's like, this is, I mean, just, because like I said earlier, we were, it was, they avoided the agreement saying that we weren't doing this stuff. Well, you can say you're doing it, but we want to have documentation that says, yeah, that's what, this
Well,
is.
and our documentation is our annual reports to Public Service Commission and to the DNR. That's our document, when we turn those annual reports in is where we're indicating that we are flushing the amount of hydrants that need to be flushed. We are, turning the valves that need to be turned. We're changing the water meters that need to be changed. Everything that we do, that we report in these documents, it's on a yearly basis. So, and that is public record. I mean, we provide that to the PUC every March, April, somewhere in there when it's completed. When we submit it to DNR and submit it to PSC, it also goes to the Utility Commission for review. And questions can be asked at that time and things like that. I'm not trying to skate anything here. I just don't know what I'm supposed to give you guys today.
Well, and again, if you're, you compile all that data, I mean, I would, and I would think you'd have kind of a running total of what
And
you're
we do.
doing, or, I mean.
we do.
That helps you keep track of what you guys are doing and stuff like
Right.
too, I would guess, so, so I don't see where it, would add an awful lot of,
It's a manual retrieval though. We're lacking the GIS system to put this data in so that we can retrieve it back out.
That's one thing, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about today. All of our stuff is GIS computer related, so when the guys are flushing hydrants and different things of that nature, I'll just use that for an example. They're inputting stuff right into our GIS system, which then again, we can create reports, on how many hydrants were flushed. Hey, this one was turning hard, or this one leaked, or something along that line. We have 0 GIS information for the village of Hudson, or the village up here. I know Patrick's working on it and things of that nature. But to this point, it's all manual. When the guys are out, they're gonna have to bring everything back. Everything's gonna have to manually be typed into the, a spreadsheet or something along that line, so we can actually start tracking up here. Once the GIS is up, it's 100 times easier, as we all know.
And that's pretty much real live data, right? So when
Yeah.
you guys insert it into the system,
It's loaded
Nick
up to the cloud or
yeah,
however they
Nick
do it.
uploads it, our GIS coordinator uploads it, so anytime, real time, you guys can go in and see when each of your, valves or hydrants or whatever have been exercised or
Right.
flushed. So that would be really helpful
And-
in terms of getting immediate information at your
Right.
fingertips.
No, it's, I don't know, I didn't,
I guess I was just trying to, and I don't mean to cut you off, Stan.
No, no, that's-
I was just
thank
trying
you.
to just get an idea. I know the village sends spreadsheets every year and stuff, and I just thought It'd be nice if we had the same in return. Just let us know how many you're getting done, what you're servicing, so that we can keep track of our system. That's all, I guess, is basically what I'm asking. I'm not asking you to send me a weekly report or anything like that, just like we did,
Right.
just send a spreadsheet or whatever, or
Yeah, and
PDF, I don't care. I don't care
again,
what
that
it is.
stuff, I mean, we can do it. I just didn't know what was expected here. Yeah, I got a list of 7 questions, but
And that's the reason we're having the meeting, so
Right,
that we
that
can
means-
clarify these things. So
just
they
because
don't
it's a
pile up.
question means nothing to me. I mean, I can give you I can give you an answer.
Yeah,
But
that'd be great.
are these gonna be the same 7 questions every quarter? I don't know.
I don't see them wouldn't see them changing much, because this is just the stuff that we were required to send you guys,
Right.
and.
Well, we needed to know where you guys were, so we know where to start and pick up and move from there.
Yeah,
But I mean, for 6 years, I think, or 4 years, whatever, I send spreadsheets, water loss, valve maintenance, hydrant maintenance, and stuff like that. So if you could do that, that would be great.
Right.
yeah, I mean, we're a much smaller group and department, and Patrick ends up doing, both outside and inside stuff, so, but when we're getting that done, and it's, that's all we're asking, is to just have the same kind of information we've been providing. We don't want to add anything on, that's, and we just want to make sure that if there is going to be an issue, we want to have the documentation to say, hey, wait, if we have to deal with the PUC or whoever, we want to say, hey, this is what we've been doing, and that's what they, where's the shortcomings coming from? Okay? I mean, are we done with one?
Sure.
Answered okay? Sure. Are you okay? Are you comfortable with it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I can do whatever is wanted, we can do. I just don't know what's wanted. That's, you're explaining it to me now. We do, like I said, with the PUC, who oversees the utility department, we only report that back to them once a year. If you guys want it quarterly, I guess we can do that, but I would rather it come from the PUC telling me to do that. Because they're the ones that control our budget, they're the ones that control what we do and things like that. I mean, obviously the mayor and city council can override anything that happens, but if there's gonna be additional work and additional things that are gonna happen outside of what's spelled out in this agreement, I would like the PUC to weigh in on that too.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna be an issue. If you guys are just looking to be in the know and get information
Yeah,
on what's happening.
it's not,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not an issue.
That's just transparency.
That's basically all we want.
That's it. Yeah, that's
Yep.
totally agreeable. That's not a problem at all.
transparency, that's a big word for
No, we
everybody
do send,
right now.
There you go.
and
That's right.
just as an FYI, I know Patrick receives it, I know Melissa receives it. I don't know anybody else from the village, but you're in on our monthly, agendas.
I've never received that.
I thought, I'll double check. I know Melissa is for sure.
I never have
'Cause
received
I know we send them up here.
Okay.
It's all email now, and everything,
Yep.
but, or online, but I'll double check to just make sure you're on there, but,
Let's get them on there.
all of our agenda items are public, just like everything else, so it's all on there, for that. I guess I'll just, water quality complaints from September, we haven't had any. Obviously, you get a few here and there that call and go, hey, my water's running a little brown, but run it for 5 minutes. We haven't had anything that's major, unless there's something you're aware of that I'm not.
Even through the construction, through the construction out here, it's been good.
Yep. And some of my reasoning for the question was just that things that I've learned, rural water training, the different trainings I've been to, is that sometimes dirty water can be a damaged pipe or something like that. So that way, if we know about the complaints, then
Yeah, I mean,
we can plan for some. You know what I mean?
I'm not
say we
I'm
don't.
not gonna waste I'm not gonna call you guys every time we get a dirty water complaint.
No, and I don't
But
expect
if
that.
we investigate it and we start finding, hey, it's a whole entire city block, or village block or something, obviously you're gonna be involved. You know, if we get, you know, the person that calls it, a customer that calls it, hey, they got dirty water, the majority of them, it's a smell. Well, it's their hot water heater, you know, I mean, we're not gonna call you to say it was somebody's hot water heater and waste your time on
No.
that, type thing. You know, if it's an issue, I mean, we're definitely gonna keep you guys in the loop on that, that's for sure. Communication maintenance issues, also reporting to PSC and DNR specifically regarding well 5 backwash water. I'm not even sure what that's about. We are right now in the process of all of our backwash water is being looked at to where we possibly have to permit it. But we're not agreeing with the DNR at this point on that.
Can you
They want us
explain
to.
that to me, Kip? I don't know what backwash.
Backwash, so when we pull water out of the ground, you know, into our wells, we actually filter it. So we're filtering out iron and manganese, are the two main things that we're filtering out. They filter through a big sand filter. So it's a huge vessel, big tank, pressurized tank, that the water is actually forced down through sand, and that sand actually pulls the iron and the manganese out of the water. So by the time it comes out the other end, the iron and manganese is almost gone. So what we have to do is, it just depends on the well and how much operation they're getting. But what we do is we actually turn that process back around, and we backwash. We clean that sand, so we force water back the other way, which in turn releases that iron and manganese. And then we send it to, in most cases, we're sending it to the seepage ponds that you might see. I know like well 8 and 9, which is up through Hanley Cut, you can see them right there. So we send them to the seepage cell, and then they just infiltrate. So the water just goes back in the ground.
Sure.
And then, you know, it gets recycled and things. So what's happening now is DNR is actually questioning, and I believe it's just us. I think they're using us as a guinea pig. So that's kind of why we're not just falling in line with what they're asking. They're starting to question what are the amounts of iron and manganese that we're putting back into the environment. Well, and my argument is, you know, and let's just say we pull 100 pounds out, you know, with our water. 2 pounds, 3 pounds is gonna go into the system. We can't clean it up 100%. You don't see it, you don't notice it, you don't taste it, nothing like that, but it's still there, you know, it's hidden. So if we send 2 pounds to the system, we're only sending 98 pounds back to Mother Earth. Why, what's the issue? I guess so. Anyway, they're questioning that. We're questioning how we actually sample this, different things like that. So we're working through that. There is a possibility that we might just have to turn everything around and just go to sanitary sewer with it. And then there's zero reporting we have to do. You know, we don't have to do any of that stuff. So we're working through that. So that's pretty much with well 5. The PSC and DNR communication, again, all of that stuff, anytime that we have required communication with Public Service Commission and with the DNR, that does go through PSC, or PUC, sorry. That does go through PUC, so that's all all agenda items, again, so them are all publicly available, things like that.
And we'll make sure
You know,
that
they're-
Patrick's on the list, right? If he's
Yeah,
not.
and we'll make sure that he's on the agenda list. You know, I don't think, I communicate with DNR and PSC, you know, very frequently. I don't think you guys are looking for every communication I have with them, you know, type thing, so.
No, that's
So
not
that
at all.
information is out there. Information requests will be handled, who will request in report. I'm assuming you're talking about just general information, or contractor information, or development information.
I don't know, where are we at?
4.
Okay.
You know, I mean, obviously, if there's a project that's gonna be happening in the village, a subdivision goes in or something like that, we need to be included in on that loop anyway. And we always have been.
Yep.
You know, where I'll get a set of plans from Cedar or whoever it might be that's doing the project. We take a look at them, we give our recommendations, you know, type thing back, and kind of go from there. So I'm assuming that, you know, if it's some major request that we need, information from you guys, you know, we'd get a hold of you, unless there's
So who's
something
gonna
you
do
can
that?
think of. Oh,
Who will do that? I
we
guess
will.
that's my question. Who's we?
Who's gonna contact you?
Yeah, who?
Well, it'd be
who-
me or Jace or Chrissy or whoever.
Well, I think we should have a clear
Who's ever
chain
looking.
of command.
Who's ever looking for the information.
Okay, but I think
Well, it depends
should
on the information that
get
you're
funneled
wanting.
through whatever, you or I or Aaron and Melissa or whoever.
Yeah,
It should, that way nothing
keep
gets
them out of
lost.
it.
If it's a distribution issue, I guess it probably comes to me, you know, or operations issue or whatever, probably comes to me anyway.
Yeah, because like I said, it depends on the information that's wanted. You know, if it's a plan set, that's gonna come through me.
Yep,
If it's information about where a curb box is,
Mm-hmm.
that's coming through Jim or one of my other staff. You know, that's not,
okay.
I'm not gonna deal with
Well, I
that.
guess what I kind of want to alleviate is that it's going through a certain channel so nothing gets lost, so that I'm talking to Jim and then we have another quarterly meeting and Kip says, well, I didn't know anything about that. You know what I mean? I don't want to get, not to say that there's any trouble, I'm not saying that at all. I just want to be open and make sure everyone's getting all the information, and that's basically all I'm looking for, is so that we're all on the same page, we all know what's going on, and whatever, documentation, you ask for something, I ask for something, Stan wants something, he asks me, I ask you, one of the guys wants something, they ask Jim, he asks me, or he asks you and you ask me, however it's gotta be, but I think there should be a definite chain of command so nothing gets lost.
Well, I mean, ultimately, everything comes through me. There,
Okay.
let's just leave it at that.
Okay,
But then again, I don't want to be bogged down with, hey, we got a call for can you go out and locate their curb box? You know, that would just go right to Jim or one of my staff or something like that. I mean, I think you're talking, and hopefully you're talking more relevant, pertinent information that we would need to discuss. I guess that's how I'm seeing that,
sure.
you know, so I don't have an issue with that. Anything else on 4? Otherwise, 5, status of deficiency items on DNR sanitary survey for water system. I went back through, we're 100% up to date on all of our deficiencies there. There's some in there that, there really wasn't a whole lot in terms of the village on the DNR report. I know there was just some, I thought there was something about hydrant records, things of that nature, but we're taking all that over anyway.
I don't think there was on the last.
And maybe that was the last, maybe that was two ago or something like that. But there really wasn't anything on there. There's nothing major that DNR found in the sanitary report that has to be done in the village. And just for your information and yours, there's nothing in the city of Hudson that we're up against a timeline on or anything like that either. So we are up to date on all the DNR stuff in reporting that back. You guys might not have seen some of that. I will actually get Patrick a updated, they don't really update them. Corey just sends me emails as we check things off our list. He'll send me an email that says, yep, I updated it in the system. I'll see what I can get you on that kind of information.
Is there, on that sanitary survey, is it like an annual thing?
Sanitary surveys are 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, we just
It'd
had-
probably be
just had-
helpful for the
So it'd
term of the
be-
agreement for you guys, when the results are available, not only does it go to PUC, sorry. I could see the village wanting to see.
So, well, the last one was done in 2021.
And we got a
And you
copy.
guys have that.
Yep, yep.
Because they're part of the, when DNR comes and does their inspection.
Okay.
Patrick's part of that, so
Okay.
they get copied in on all that, hard copies, emails, all that kind of stuff, they're
Makes
copied in
sense.
on that, so.
Did we do, when we did our PFAS testing, was that done here in the village as well, in North Hudson?
We did it in our, yeah, all of our
It
wells.
was all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys got that information, I'm assuming, from that?
No, no,
We can send you that.
but that's, yeah, I'm,
Probably be something good to have.
sure. No,
We're
that's-
fine. just so everybody knows.
Well,
We're good on PFAS.
that's-
I'm sure
We
you
have
are.
no issues. We have no
That's,
issues.
that's
so.
the reason, I mean.
That's an
you
example of
know,
the documentation you want though, right?
There's,
There you go.
that's the deal. I mean, this isn't to call out anybody. This is just to say, hey, you know, we need this, you know, we would like to have this, and you guys have it, but all the information doesn't get shared. We're just trying to,
Yeah, and that, yeah,
you know, to make
That's
sure
fine.
that our records are good in case it, something hits the fan.
How about regular sampling, you need those results too?
We don't-
You haven't gotten them to this date.
Oh,
yet.
up here?
no, I mean, we don't even,
The what?
we don't even report them to PUC
No.
unless there's an issue.
Right, exactly.
No, but I think.
I mean, we can inundate you with as much information as you want, but, you know, I don't think that's what you're after. And I know
But I
that's not what
think,
you're
just, maybe just a common courtesy, I tried to include you guys on all the samples that I had taken before up here. Just include me on the email, I guess I'd appreciate that, I guess that's all I'm asking, you know, for our system.
Kip, when we do all of our testing, where are we storing all that information? Is that just all paper filed? I'm assuming it's going digital. Do we have servers that are holding that information? Do we have
It's all available on the DNR website.
Yeah,
Our DNR
so-
website has it?
so
I
when
mean,
we-
like internally though, do we have like a Google Drive that like anyone can access in the city and say like, if Mike wants to go in there and pull up a report from last year or testing from, you know, June, could he go into that? Do we have anything like that set up?
No, he couldn't get into our internal stuff.
Not yet.
But again, so when we do a sample, or when we send a sample in, it goes to the state of, down to Madison, for example. We are, and just, I guess, for FYI, we are actually a certified lab as of now for the city of Hudson. We went through, Jennifer, one of my staff, has worked extremely hard on that. So we are actually a certified lab for bacteria samples, which are the ones that we have to take on monthly basis. Anytime there's a new construction, and before we can put it into service, we have to do bacteria samples. We actually became a certified lab because the issue is all those samples we have to send in. For one, it's expensive to send them in. When I say expensive, it's like $25 a sample. So it's not super expensive, but when you're doing a ton of them, you know, during construction season, that does get expensive. The issue that we kept running into is the mail system. Bacteria samples are a time-sensitive sample, so they have to be there within 48 hours? 30 hours. We were having mail issues trying to get from here to Madison in 30 hours. So we became our own certified lab, so we can do all that kind of stuff now. But when we do send in samples, the State Lab of Hygiene is where they go. We get results and DNR gets results. So any sample that we send in, unless it's an investigative sample, any sample that we do send in is uploaded right to the DNR website under
So
our
again, just to
permit.
be clear, if we ever want to go back for that information, we go to the DNR website?
Yeah, we can go to or we can do our paper copies or, you know, our
I
internal.
was just curious, it seems like it would be, you know, kind of like what they're looking for, and at least what I'm hearing is that it'd be nice if we did have a centralized spot, you know, like I said, like a Google Drive, where it's like all these tests could go into it, Patrick has access to it.
So,
So everybody has access to DNR samples.
No, I
but,
understand.
but he's talking about it's like the internal, you know, like, so we use OneDrive up
There
in
you
like
go.
our department.
Same
So
thing. Yep.
it's a slow slogging implementation process for our digitization of all of our paper
Got it.
records. So we're working on it, you know, like I said, community development is for the most part done with that process. Building inspections is getting close, and
Yeah.
that's all the address files for, you know, most homes and businesses in the city.
Okay.
That slowly gets deployed into the clerk's office and
So some of you
into,
guys are working on, it's just a slow process.
yeah, and
Got it.
manpower.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah,
And it'll-
and that's our biggest thing too. You know, I mean, we're working towards getting all this stuff digitalized. It's just, as we all know, it takes time, you
Absolutely.
know, type thing. 2021 hydrant flushing report documentation. 3/4 of that we got from Patrick. You know, we only had the 3 months that we were doing it. We document everything that's in terms of, you know, dead ends that were flushed, how long they're flushed, different things like that. And we can get all that. That's all stuff that we're currently, you know, bringing together, because that's all stuff that goes in our Psc DNR reports. So we're generating all that now. Those reports will probably be due, we'll have them ready probably in March, April, somewhere in there is when those will be ready. And I'm not sure utility hydrant flushing procedures. I don't know what.
I guess I was just curious if you guys have a standard procedure as, you know, step one, we go out and here's our fire hydrant, we take cap, you know, what the process is, I guess is
Yeah,
basically
and
what I'm asking.
Jim can probably talk more on that. I mean, it's just your standard process there.
Standard flushing, we've been notifying you when we've been up
Yep.
with flushes and stuff.
Yep, and I appreciate that,
But
yep.
the staff, they do track, we
We've all
don't,
been trained in hydrant maintenance and stuff.
yeah, we don't put a meter on when we flush, but, they are tracking time-wise how much is flushed, which then we can figure out how many gallons, because we have to track all the gallons per minute that we flush out of a fire hydrant. So all that's tracked too, and that's all incorporated into our Psc DNR reports.
Okay, and as far as like, I know, grease in the caps and things like that, is that every time that you flush?
No, just once a year, just annually.
Okay. And just, like I say, the reason I asked the question is just curious how you were doing the things, because I know I went through, was it 2 years ago when we flushed the hydrants, went through, and what happened is that grease just gets built up and caked on there. So we cleaned all of them off, all the fittings, cleaned all the grease off, scrubbed them down, put a little dab of grease on them, screwed them on. I don't want that to happen again, because to me, and I don't know if this is a real thing, but in my head, when that builds up, to me, that's a bacteria catcher. You know, and
Yeah.
it's a very slim chance that it could happen, but I guess that's how we did it, and that's how I was kind of taught through rural water, the trainings that I did, things like that, is to try to get that excess grease off. So I guess I was just looking for if you had a procedure, or if you don't, you don't, or an official procedure, I guess, maybe you don't.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a step-by-step checklist. I mean,
Okay.
you know, they've gone through the training, probably the exact same training that you're talking about.
Sure.
They've all gone through, so, and again, you know, in the city of Hudson with our GIS system, as they're doing that, they're loading that information right in. You know, so if a cap was missing, for example, or, you know, whatever it might be, you know, it was cracked, or this hydrant's too low, you know, to where it needs to be raised up. All that information's getting added right to the program.
Sure.
Click on the hydrant, there's drop-down boxes, different things you can do, things like that, so.
Okay.
And as you guys work on your GIS stuff, I know it's a heavy lift to get off the ground on mapping.
What did you say?
When do you guys start working on your actual GIS program?
Yes.
You know, Nick in my office can certainly help you guys work through maybe what might be one of the best things, where to start, maybe.
I had a conversation with Nick already this morning about that, and we can't do the work, obviously, for you, but like Mike said, this is Nick's specialty. I mean, this is what he does for the city of Hudson, is GIS stuff. So, you know, if there is questions, or you're looking for, hey, I got to buy a piece, or I got to do this, or I got to do that, he's a great resource to talk to, just because he knows. And the other thing is that, you know, hopefully this agreement, we're going to be doing this for years, and everything's going to work out great, and we're all going to be happy. The one thing that we need is, once you have that information, we'll be uploading that into our GIS system so we can access it and use it.
Sure.
But we got to make sure that what you're gathering is the right information.
Okay.
So,
And Nick comes out and helps train
Oh,
and
yeah.
does, like, he got all of our guys and
Yep.
girls set up with everything.
yeah.
Could you put together a list of what you need and
Nick can.
Yep, it'll be an attribute
And
table
just-
is what it'll be, and
I guess, let me know. And then that way we have an idea of what's expected.
Yeah, and live,
He actually, just give you that.
Oh, all right.
Call.
Okay.
You set a meeting up with him, but yeah, I mean, he'll help you definitely walk through all
Sure.
that stuff.
well,
You know,
that,
'cause
you
I
know,
know it's a chore. It's a
yeah, I'm,
huge.
you know what I'm saying, last year when we started to set up for this, we tried to get a university student, because there's different ways they can earn credit by coming up and
Right.
doing hands-on field work, and we tried that, and we were not successful through the University of River Falls, is that where we
Yeah.
went? And so, you know, and again, like, you know, our public works, our whole crew is 3 people,
Right.
including Patrick, you know, and we've only got a couple people in the office, so I mean, it's not like, you know, and like you said, that's a big load of work to do, you know, especially to get started out, and there's, you know, if we're putting in every hydrant and everything else that's in there, there's, you know, I've looked at the list, there's a lot of stuff there, and I'm sure it's not just and go to the next one, you know, I mean, I know there's you know, so, you know, we're absolutely trying to get that, you know, I mean, because that was gonna be less work for Patrick and, for our guys, and obviously we want to share the information, but,
Right.
you know, again, we're having staffing, you know, people, you know, being able to do it, so, but we're working on it, but it's nice to have this offer to be
Yeah,
able to
no, that's
use a
great.
resource that has the experience that, obviously should save us a lot of time.
Right.
it'll save you money too. I mean, honestly, it
That, now you're talking my
It took-
language.
it took us-
We got more time than money.
It took us. I mean, honestly, we hired him what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
His first day was like the day COVID happened,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I mean, we've grown exponentially in what we're able, our capacity now. And then I think you guys, from getting SEH to come in and do all of our stuff, that was only 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, maybe longer.
Probably 4 or 5 years ago, yeah, we had him come
It
in.
took us a while to get there too. So you're
Yeah, and that was
certainly
full-time,
not alone.
you know, with SEH, I mean, there was full-time staff here, they were here, and it took them 3-4 months every day just to get through the city of Hudson,
Yeah,
you know.
there's 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Well, if we could stop with all these darn road projects, I could do more of that.
And, you know, and like Mike said, you know, Nick is in, even when I talked to Nick this morning, you know, if you do find some college kids, for example, that, you know, want to do it, he's more than willing to come out and show them how to use the equipment.
Sure.
Because you want to make sure you're using it correctly. I mean, that's a big part of it. You know, you don't want these guys going out there for 3 weeks and they gather all this information and they bring it back and it's mumbled and jumbled and we can't use any of it, so.
Yeah, and basically, I guess hopefully that's not a concern that we will do that. Cedar Core is
Yep.
is who we went through. Basically what happens is, you know, we have all the equipment, we would download it and then they would, I mean, cause they're in it as well, or they have, the administration in it as well. So, and they would make it look like it's supposed to look and do whatever. They've been really good about that. So you won't get something that looks like somebody
Well,
threw a mud pie at a wall.
My concern is that, like I said before, with the information that we get from you to put into our system, we don't want different terminology, we don't want different
It's an attribute, so it's a
things, you know, so when we're looking at Hudson and we're seeing a fire hydrant, for example, we're gonna see the exact same thing in the village. You know, it's not gonna be a completely different set of parameters or
But
different,
some of our fire hydrants are different colors because they're private and public.
right,
We need to make sure that.
the symbology and the,
Yeah.
Thing.
right.
Yep. And if I have that, I have no issue
yep,
making that work.
yep. And we can even host that. I mean, we host our own. We don't even use SEH anymore.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's maybe for another discussion,
Yeah,
but.
future date.
I mean, I don't know why Hudson couldn't even host what's up here. We're the ones that are gonna be using it.
Right. And we share like with St. Croix County and all that too. I mean, it's the same thing. It's
Because you're gonna end up paying Cedar to host that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
Well, yeah, we've got the, yeah, we pay them.
There's a lot to chew on. Let's,
certain projects, but
Sure.
that's what we have to do.
So I guess with all that being said, I don't know if there's anything anybody wants to bring up or anything for future agendas or anything like that. We're open, I guess.
I just have a question. Do you have a punch list for Highway 35 still open
Yes.
for the utility stuff?
Yep.
Because I just see there's one hydrant there that's still low.
There's actually 3 of them.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And then, were you able to key all the curb stops and make sure they're keyed on them all?
Yep, all except for the one right between Techniques and
But it's
Line
on-
X. It's 6601 or something.
Yeah, but it's on punch.
That one is on the punch list that needs to be repaired. Yep,
No.
yep, yep.
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing, that this is just a communication thing, you know, I mean, to make sure, you know, I mean, obviously, I mean, the information, all right, we've got a guy that will help us when we get to the GIS now, or, you know, and that's what we want, you know, and we want to offer our support if you know, like, I know you've mentioned staff issues, that is, you know, to get this stuff, you know, I mean, our guys are all willing and capable of doing stuff to help out, and rather than hire a new hire, we could bill you for it or whatever, you know, for certain projects. I mean, it's a you know, partnership. That's what it's supposed to be. That's why we have agreements, and you know, these are just for communication meetings so that we can meet and say, hey, you know, you said you're doing this, you're not, or we said we'd like this, you know, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's communication. That's the biggest thing that I see. I think this has been very good.
And I
Good way to
think
start the year.
I think as long as we get together and say, yeah, everything's working good or whatever, we're making progress from past years. So
Yeah.
I think these are good meetings to have. And maybe I'm wrong. Tell
Yeah,
me-
no,
tell me
well,
some-
and that's why it's, you know, well, part of it is our village board, you know, wanted to have, you know, because of the agreement and stuff like that, they wanted information on what's going on too, you know, I mean, and that's why we have, you know, the cable folks here, or the River Channel folks here and stuff, is to, let the transparency, let the people know that, hey, you know, we are working together and we're trying to get, you know, any issues solved before they blow up into, you know, big battles and, oh, we get canceled again or something like that, you know.
All right, so I've got, I mean, we'll, you know, we'll definitely include, I'll double check on the meeting agendas, make sure Patrick's email is in there. Like I said, I know Melissa's in there, I believe, who's your finance?
Nathan?
Nathan. I'm almost 100% positive he's in there too. So they're getting them on a monthly.
Okay,
They're getting them on a monthly, you know, email,
okay.
our agendas and all that kind of stuff, so. But I'll double check on that. You know, we can start periodically just sending, you know, the samples. Again, you can find all that kind of information on the DNR website, if you poke around and things like that, so.
You know where that site is, or?
You give them
Yep.
the link. They're okay. You know where the links are.
Yep.
So are we due for next meeting in April? Is that right?
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, if we can schedule that
That's Aaron's job.
next meeting?
Yeah.
It is, but
It's right in that agreement. That's Aaron's job.
I read it.
We can give Aaron some
And
options, can't we?
he's not here. He's not zoomed
It would
in.
be April
April, yeah.
As long as we're here, we might as well.
during the
set it.
last
How about the
week.
first?
April Fools.
Yeah, it'll be in April.
All right. So Aaron will send out that invite again, but just plan on it being in April.
Yeah.
We can check in again.
Yeah, he'll, you
The
know,
last
last time he
week of
just
March.
communicated through Melissa.
Okay.
Got everybody on the
So
schedule.
the last week of March, I'll put it on our calendar to make sure that we
you say last week in March?
So that's when the agreement says that we send out the notification.
So, Patrick, you mentioned an issue with the well 5 and the icing up of the, when they flush and the salt we gotta use or whatever like that, is that?
Yeah, well, it gets treated, so, I guess I don't know if this is the venue for that or not.
The storm sewer freezes up.
Oh, okay,
Well, that's the way I view it anyway.
okay.
Okay, that's,
That was easy.
okay, we're in April, what do we do? Anybody get,
I don't think we locked in on a date. I think we just said April, and then we were gonna let Melissa and Aaron figure that out.
Yeah.
Melissa and Aaron will figure it out.
Works out.
We'll send out a notice the last week of March, like the agreement says, and then we'll
that sounds good.
All right.
figure out a date.
Right now my calendar's open, so.
And again, I mean, Stan, you know it as well as anybody, Mary's on the commission, so if there is questions, all she has to do is get a hold of me or Andy and have,
Well,
You know.
you have my word. We'll communicate all of it on the PUC if we have to. So if she has questions, we'll bring them up. I'll put it on the agenda and we'll talk about it.
Oh, no, she's,
Absolutely.
you're both very well aware that she's not afraid to ask questions.
Oh, I know.
And we can actually even bring Nick to the next meeting. He lives in the village,
oh,
so
What was that?
we can bring Nick. I put a note in to add Nick to the next agenda just so he can introduce himself to you guys if we haven't.
Oh,
Be a
okay.
good warm introduction.
Oh,
He's the
Nick,
one that will
the-
help you with the GSI stuff.
The
Yeah.
GIS guy,
Okay.
guru,
Excuse me.
okay. Oh, that,
yeah, I mean, for us, that's, we've transitioned to that in Hudson, you know, the GIS, and it's, you guys are using that stuff multiple times a day. You know, majority of them have iPads in their trucks, so they're using them.
And it wasn't-
To gather information, input information,
We frown when the information isn't on the GIS.
right,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, paper maps aren't used very much anymore.
oh no,
We've
I
gotten
know
away
that'd
from
be a
that,
lot
too.
less clutter for this place too. I mean, no, I mean, like I said, we're certainly trying to get it done, but I mean, we just don't have the staff to do it, you know, and we can't hire anymore because, we're maxed out on our budget, so, you know, but we're planning on getting that done this year.
We made the huge leap from recipe cards to spreadsheets, so I think that's a pretty good jump.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's North Hudson. you
I
know?
remember, hey, it wasn't long, we were using the meter cards. Oh,
Well, it's,
So
the way
I'd
it
say
was.
that's progress anyway.
yeah, that's the way it was.
we tried. So, is anybody got anything else, Rich?
I've got nothing, just looking at my calendar.
Okay, Patrick, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Andrew?
No, sir, we're good.
Guys?
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, well,
Well-
thank you.
I guess this meeting is finished.
Perfect.
Since it's not a committee, I can't say adjourn.
Yeah,
Uh,
sounds
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.